Jai Hind children. In this video, we will discuss the chapter Sources of Business Finance. As for the latest curriculum, this chapter is actually number 7, but if you look at the NCRT book, you will still find it at chapter number 8. So for today's discussion, chapter Sources of Business Finance. Now, first of all, we will discuss the meaning of business finance. Okay, finance is actually required by everyone in their lives. As a household, every person need finance or money to run their families or families affairs, or for the education of their children, for the medical expenses, and for their lifestyle also. Everyone need money. Similarly, business enterprises also need money because they are continuously involved in production and distribution of the goods and service for the satisfaction of society's need. So, to carry out all these production and distribution activity, every business enterprise need money, which is known as business finance. It is also known as lifeblood of any business. Okay, now the types of financial requirement of the business. Okay, how many types of finance is required by the business? So we can broadly classify it into the two categories. The first is fixed capital requirement, and the next is working capital requirement. And I hope you all know the meaning of fixed and working capital requirement, as fixed capital requirement includes investment in fixed asset like heavy plant machinery, building, and furniture, fixtures, heavy transportation vehicles. These are known as what? Fixed capital requirement, because investment or buying or procuring these assets for a business is actually required a huge involvement of huge fund. And this investment is also a irrecoverable investment. Once you have purchased the machinery, तो वो पैसा आपको वापस नहीं आएगा. If you are trying to resell it, you cannot realize the same amount at what you have purchased it. So it's a irrecoverable investment basically. But these investments are also required for the business to carry out its activities. अगर कोई production unit है तो उसको plant भी चाहिए, machine भी चाहिए, और transportation vehicles भी चाहिए, and fixtures, furnitures, equipments भी चाहिए, and what? एक बड़ी सी building भी चाहिए to produce. So अगर हम ये वाली बातें देखते हैं, so if we compare the trading and manufacturing enterprise, so a manufacturing enterprise need more fixed capital. Okay, now we move on the working capital requirement, and I hope you all know the formula of working capital. This is current assets minus current liability, and you all know what comes in current assets and what comes in current liability. So after settling the current liabilities from the current assets, the leftover amount is basically known as working capital, because this leftover amount is used for the functioning of the day or to carry out the day-to-day operations of the business. Well, so what comes in the current assets? That is your inventory, bills receivable, debtors, cash in hand, cash at bank, and what comes into the current liabilities. So definitely your outstanding expenses, short-term borrowings, creditors, bills payable, all these things come into the current liabilities. So after settling these current liabilities from the current assets, the leftover amount is used by the business for its operations. And if we compare the trading and manufacturing organization, so definitely a trading organization need more working capital than the manufacturing organization. Now the next topic is sources of funds classification. From where and how a firm can procure the funds. So the first classification is on the basis of period, and on the basis of ownership, and on the basis of sources of generation. So on the basis of period, it means the time period. So it can be short term, medium term, and long term. A short term period is actually a period of 12 months. So trade credit, जो बिजनेसमैन एक दूसरे से क्रेडिट पे रॉ मटेरियल्स ले लेते हैं, उसको हम बेसिकली क्या बोलते हैं? ट्रेड क्रेडिट बोलते हैं, है ना? Which is generally for 3 months. Loan from commercial bank, short-term loans from commercial bank, and the commercial paper. These instruments are used for short-term financial requirement. अब बात आती है मीडियम टर्म फंड्स की. So short to medium term, ये टर्म क्या होती है आपकी? 1 year to 5 years. This duration is known as medium term. तो इसमें क्या क्या आएगा? इसके क्या क्या सोर्स हो सकते हैं? वे इसमें आते हैं आपके लोन फ्रॉम बैंक एंड पब्लिक डिपॉजिट्स एंड लीज फाइनेंसिंग एंड लोन फ्रॉम फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन. ये इंस्ट्रूमेंट यूज होते हैं मीडियम टर्म फाइनेंस कलेक्ट करने के लिए. नाउ मूव टू द लॉन्ग टर्म फंड्स. लॉन्ग टर्म फंड्स आर बेसिकली more than 5 years. And these are long-term loans from the bank, shares and debentures. It can be shares and debentures also. So ये तो हुआ classification on the basis of the period. Now the next classification is on the basis of ownership. So fund can be owner's fund and the borrowed fund. If we talk about the owner's fund, it means it's a fund provided by the owners of the business, and ये business में से फिर बाहर नहीं निकलता है, and ये कब कब owners को वापस मिलता है, at the time of the winding up of the business. So it's a kind of permanent fund for a business. It can be of two types: the share capital and the retained earning. Share capital, which is used by the company form of business. Here the company collect capital from the public by selling a part or a share of its ownership to them. And then the retained earning, it's a profit which is left over in the business. It means undistributed profit, undistributed as a dividend. तो ये जो profit है, this can also be used for the growth and expansion of the business. इसमें कोई cost भी involved नहीं होती है. And if we talk about the borrowed fund, it means the fund provided by the outsider of the business, जो business के insider नहीं है. और these funds are basically for a stipulated time period, और इनको वापस करना होता है after the expiry of the period. If we talk about the debentures, so after the expiry of the life of debenture, ये amount आपको public को, company has to return it to the public. If you talk about the bank loan, तो bank loan का जो duration है, उसके बाद ये पैसा, उसके within that duration, that amount must be returned to the bank. If you talk about the public deposits, which are generally up to 3 years, 3 to 5 years का मीडियम टर्म का आपका जो टेन्योर होता है, सो उसमें वापस करना होता है ये पैसा. ट्रेड क्रेडिट, तो अगर लॉन्ग टर्म ट्रेड क्रेडिट है, अगर 13 महीने का ट्रेड क्रेडिट है, तो ये लॉन्ग टर्म हो जाएगा, बिकॉज जनरली जो आपका ऑपरेटिंग साइकिल होता है, दैट इज ऑफ 12 months. अब हम आते हैं ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ जनरेशन. फंड कैन बी जनरेटेड इंटरनली एंड एक्सटर्नली. अगर इंटरनल की बात करते हैं, इसका मतलब ये विद इन द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन आप फंड जनरेट कर रहे हैं. सो इट कैन बी जनरेटेड बाय डिस्पोजिंग ऑफ, आपका जो जितना भी सरप्लस इन्वेंट्री पड़ी हुई है, उसको डिस्पोज करके आप फंड जनरेट कर सकते हो. अदरवाइज यू कैन कलेक्ट, यू कैन ऑल्सो जनरेट फंड बाय यूजिंग योर रिटेन्ड अर्निंग. मतलब ऐसा प्रॉफिट व्हाट इज नॉट डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड एज डिविडेंड टू द शेयर होल्डर्स, वो भी आप यूज कर सकते हो. इन द कंपनी फॉर्म ऑफ बिजनेस पार्टनरशिप में भी जो प्रॉफिट बांटा नहीं है, वो रिटेन अर्निंग हो जाता है. अब एक्सटर्नल सोर्स से फिर वही बात आ जाती है, दोज हु आर नॉट इनसाइडर ऑफ द बिजनेस आर द एक्सटर्नल सोर्स. इसमें बैंक्स आ जाएंगी, पब्लिक डिपॉजिट्स आ जाएंगे, डिबेंचर्स आ जाएंगे, फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस आ जाएंगे. ये हुए आपके एक्सटर्नल सोर्सेज ऑफ फाइनेंस. अब हम अगर आगे बढ़ते हैं, so here is a explanation of the retained earning, the source of finance, which is internal source of finance, okay, और ओनर्स सोर्स ऑफ फाइनेंस. इसको हम दो कैटेगरी में इसको कोरोलेट कर सकते हैं. तो I have already explained you the meaning of retained earning. Earning which is not distributed among the shareholder as dividend is known as what? Retained earning. It is basically saved for the future, and this is also known as flowing back of profits. जैसे कि किसान फसल कटने के बाद कुछ जो फसल का हिस्सा होता है, उसको बीज के लिए संभाल के रख लेता है, और दोबारा मौसम आने पर उसी बीज को दोबारा से वो डाल देता है खेतों में. दैट इज व्हाट फ्लोइंग बैक. सिमिलरली अपना ही बचा हुआ प्रॉफिट आप बचा लेते हो, एंड वेन एवर इट इज रिक्वायर्ड फॉर एनी ग्रोथ एंड एक्सपेंशन प्लान और इन एनी ऑफ क्राइसिस, so this profit can be used. So this is the meaning of flowing back of profits. If we talk about the merit and limitation, so merit is basically it's a permanent source. ये आपको किसी को देना नहीं है, this belongs to the business, and इसमें कोई कॉस्ट भी नहीं है. नो नीड टू पे इंटरेस्ट और डिविडेंड ऑफ एनी काइंड ऑफ फ्लोटेशन कॉस्ट इज नॉट इन्वॉल्व विद इट. व्हेन यू इशू शेयर्स इन द मार्केट, इट लीड्स टू फ्लोटेशन कॉस्ट, तो इसमें वो भी नहीं आता है. एंड ये इंटरनली जनरेट होता है, और आप इसको आराम से यूज कर सकते हो. इसमें कोई रिस्ट्रिक्शन, देयर इज नो रिस्ट्रिक्शन ऑन द यूजेस ऑफ इंटरनल फंड. इट इज फ्लेक्सिबल टू यूज एज पर द रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ द ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. दिस फंड कैन बी यूज्ड. अब हम आगे बढ़ते हैं, तो एक्चुअली ये अब आपके फ्यूचर शॉक्स एंड सरप्राइजेस या लॉसेस को एब्जॉर्ब करने के लिए काम आता है. द लॉसेस व्हिच आर अनएक्सपेक्टेड, उनको कवर आप इनसे कर सकते हो. इट विल लीड टू इंक्रीज इन मार्केट प्राइस ऑफ द इक्विटी शेयर कंपनी, इक्विटी शेयर ऑफ द कंपनी. जिसके पास अच्छा बैलेंस होता है, जिस फर्म के पास में, जिस बिजनेस के पास में, जिस कंपनी के पास में, उससे ग्रोथ और एक्सपेंशन की भी उम्मीद की जा सकती है. एंड इफ द कंपनी इज हैविंग गुड अमाउंट ऑफ रिटेन अर्निंग, इट मींस द कंपनी इज अर्निंग आल्सो वेल. that all gives a positive impact on the share price of the company. इस तरीके से these are the merits of the retained earning. And if we talk about the limitation, so it's uncertain क्योंकि profits are fluctuating. It is not compulsory that every enterprise earns profit every year. तो इसकी regularity को हम certain नहीं कर सकते. Second point, excessive plowing back may cause dissatisfaction among the shareholder as they would get lower dividend. If a company is using retained earning again and again, so definitely the shareholder will think that the profit is not given to us and it is kept by the company with itself for the future purpose, for the future uses. Basically, the profit belongs to the shareholder. So sometime it may lead to dissatisfaction amongst the shareholder कि ये तो हमारा profit था हमें नहीं मिला और company ने इसको रोक के रख लिया था. Okay, so that's all about what retained earning. The other topics we will discuss into the another video. I hope you understood. Okay, so study well. Jai Hind.